Hi everyone. Welcome to the webinar for the Lighting Energy Efficiency Parking Campaign, or the LEEP campaign. Everyone right now is in mute, but if you could please try using the chat box to do a quick audio check. Can you please type yes if you can hear me? It would be great. Okay, great. Looks like everyone can hear me. So welcome. This webinar is brought to you by the Department of Energy and along with collaboration with BOMA International, the Green Parking Council, IFMA. And my name is Andres Cotes. I'm with the Commercial Building Energy Alliance of the Department of Energy. And today we're going to be going over the next hour and a half to talk about our LEEP campaign. So the agenda for today. We're going to give some introductions. I'm going to introduce you to a broad overview of the campaign. I'm going to introduce you to our speakers today. We have the three organizers from BOMA, IFMA, and the Green Parking Council. Michael Meyer, who's with the Department of Energy Pacific Northwest National Lab, is going to give an overview with some more details on the campaign. And then we're going to have two case studies, one from Kymco Realty Corporation with Nate Mitten, and the other one, the University of Central Florida, Alexander Kennedy. Kymco has a project with their parking lots, and the University of Central Florida has a project that they'd like to talk about with a parking structure. And in the last 10 minutes, we'll go over questions. So first, let me give you an overview of the campaign. So this is an effort between these organizations to encourage commercial building owners, managers, parking garage and lot owners and managers to take advantage of the opportunity to save energy through high-efficiency parking lighting technology in parking lots and parking structures. The campaign is organized by BOMA International, Green Parking Council, and the International Facility Management Association. The Department of Energy is the campaign's technical advisor. To participate, you have to sign up onto the website and agree to at least evaluate your portfolio to identify potential parking lot or parking structure projects that you can apply high-efficiency lighting technology to, and of course, where it's feasible and cost-effective. At the end of the year, the campaign runs through the calendar year. Projects with notable energy savings are going to receive awards from the campaign, and the campaign's goal is to have 100 million square feet of parking structure or parking lot space use roughly 1/3 less energy, and so this estimate comes out to around 51 million kilowatt hours of savings, roughly equivalent to 4,500 homes, or the annual greenhouse gas emissions of around 7,000 passenger vehicles. So now let me start off by introducing the campaign organizers. Karen Penafiel is the BOMA International Vice Presidency of Advocacy Codes and Standards. She manages the BOMA's advocacy programs and oversees their building codes and standard efforts. She's the lobbyist for the organization and works with Congress and federal agencies on a wide range of issues in the commercial real estate industry. She's the lead on energy sustainability issues for BOMA for the past decade. She's author of 2 guidance documents on electricity and deregulation. She's also an author of BOMA's Green Lease Guides. She's a graduate of Hamilton College, where she has a Bachelor of Arts in Government. Paul Wessel is with the Green Parking Council. He's the executive director. The Green Parking Council is a nonprofit organization, and they work to promote green parking practices through certification and credential programs, open source standards, professional leadership, educational development and training for organizations and individuals in the parking industry. They work at the intersection of parking, green building, clean technology, renewable technology, smart grid infrastructure, urban planning, and sustainability and mobility. Paul has an MS from the Urban Policy Analysis and Management Urban Policy Analysis and Management from the New School, and a BA in History from Wesleyan. And last, Marina Bedoyan-Kridikos. She's the Director of Sustainability at IFMA, and she oversees their strategic and tactical sustainability initiatives. She also works closely with IFMA Sustainability Committee to monitor and integrate legislation and technology trends related to sustainability. Let me go over the other speakers really quickly, and then I'll turn it back to the organizers to say a few words. The other speakers are Nate Mitten from Kymco. Nate is the manager of energy services at Kymco. And Kymco is the largest owner of the largest fleet of neighborhood and community shopping centers in the U.S. Nate implements a series of energy-related initiatives at Kymco. He holds a PhD in MS and MS in mechanical and aerospace engineering from the University of Florida and a BS from Messiah College. And Alexandra Kennedy is joining us from University of Central Florida. She works at their Department of Sustainability and Energy Management. And I'm just going to go over quickly Michael Meyer. He's joining us from the Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Lab. He supports the Commercial Building Energy Alliances at the Department of Energy, along with a couple of other programs, the Solid State Lighting Program and Appliance Standards. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over back to Karen to tell a little bit about BOMA. Give me a second, I have to unmute her here. Karen, you're on.
Great, thanks, Andres. On behalf of the Building Owners and Managers Association International, we're extremely pleased to be partnering with the Green Parking Council, the International Facility Management Association, the Commercial Building Energy Alliance, and the Department of Energy to launch this important effort. BOMA's members are the owners and managers of commercial buildings. BOMA International is an international federation of more than 100 local associations and affiliated organizations. Founded in 1907, our 17,000 members own or manage more than 9 billion square feet of commercial property. Our mission is to enhance the human, intellectual, and physical assets of the commercial real estate industry through advocacy, education, research, standards, and information. For the past decade, BOMA has worked to assist and motivate the real estate industry to take voluntary steps to reduce their energy consumption. Part of our strategy has been to identify barriers and remove them, or find ways to work around them. 5 years ago, BOMA launched its 7-point challenge, which challenged the real estate industry to voluntarily reduce its energy consumption by 30% across their portfolio by 2012. The program has been a huge success, and we believe it has helped move markets. But the 7-point challenge focused mostly on the building itself and the building systems, and not parking lots and structures. The LEEP campaign represents that important next step. Lighting technologies have come a long way, and retrofits can yield significant savings, both in energy costs as well as maintenance costs. By combining the technical resources of the Department of Energy and the national labs with the memberships of BOMA, IFMA, and the Green Parking Council, we can collectively provide innovative tools and solutions that will truly transform the marketplace and save us a substantial amount of energy and money. And through the LEEP campaign and through the participation of all the market leaders participating on this webinar, we can help identify and share best practices and successes. BOMA International is very excited to be a part of this effort, and we can't wait to see what all of us can accomplish by working together to encourage lighting retrofits across our nation's parking facilities.
Great, thanks, Karen. Now I'll turn it over to Paul Wessel. Paul, give me a second. Let me unmute here. Okay, Paul, you're on.
Good afternoon, everybody. The Green Parking Council is delighted to be here today. We're a national nonprofit organization developing and dispersing green parking practices in and around the parking industry. And we're funded by partners in and around that industry, though not enough of them, given all the projects we're eager to engage in. But our current partners include real estate owners, private parking operators, and technology manufacturers. Relevant to today's discussion, we're honored to have the partnership support of Lutera Systems, which is a developer of energy-efficient lighting control systems for HID lighting, and also of Osram Slovenia, a producer of lighting solutions for over 100 years, and started, I learned today, by a guy who recycled and rebuilt burnt-out light bulbs. So they appear to have sustainability in their blood. That was great to learn about. So simply put, what the Green Parking Council is seeking to do is transform parking from part of the problem to an active agent in creating the solution of sustainable urban mobility in a world where by 2050 we expect 70% of the world's population to be living in cities. And our goal here in the LEEP campaign is to promote, inspire, incite, accelerate, pick the verb you want, the adoption of the highest quality lighting in America's parking garages and parking lots with the lowest possible electric usage and cost, and to do so cost effectively. We see this as an extraordinary opportunity for collaboration, peer-to-peer learning, and technological innovation. And we recognize and have learned that no one size fits all here. Different technologies work better in cold and warm regions of the country. High-end commercial buildings, shopping malls, and hospitals often have different needs than the general market. Who pays the electric bill, what the local rates are, what the local incentives are, who owns the lighting fixtures, all those things matter in specific situations. Whether there's a 3-year ROI, a 5-year ROI, who pays the capital cost, how the improvement is being financed. All of these are issues and opportunities we hope to explore over the next year with everybody. You know, we're struck that there's a lot of talk these days about green jobs in the green market, but energy-efficient lighting in parking garages and lots really is a textbook example. There are competitive manufacturers, installers, parking operators, and owners in rapidly evolving technology. So we're really excited about the possibility for collaboration here and really believe that it will move the adoption of high-performance energy lighting technologies forward. Almost to a person, whether owner, manager, or parking operator, when I talk to them about the campaign, they look at me and they say, yeah, I really need to get my arms around this issue. I just haven't been able to focus on it. And so here's their opportunity. So on behalf of the GPC, we look forward to learning, working, and providing better lighting and saving energy with BOMA, IFMA, the Department of Energy, and everybody else who's on the line today. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Now, Marina, I just unmuted you. You're up. Marina?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon as well. Thanks, Andreas and Karen and Paul. We are pleased to join our colleague organizers of this campaign. The International Facility Management Association, or IFMA, is an international association for professional facility managers. The association's members are represented by 127 chapters and 16 councils worldwide, and our mission is to advance the facility management profession by providing exceptional services, products, resources, and opportunities. One of our most important goals is to provide education, resource, and to prepare industry stakeholders by keeping them up to date on business trends and future developments that will impact the built environment and their managerial decisions. Our annual Trends and Global Job Task Analysis have continually identified sustainability as a #1 trend expected to have greatest impact on the future of the built environment. And so in that, we see this campaign as an excellent opportunity to provide industry stakeholders with resources and programs to help to develop and implement plans to sustainably manage their assets related to the campaign. And as this campaign does provide an opportunity for industry stakeholders to reduce the consumption of energy through energy savings devices and systems, as well as taking advantage of savings opportunities from high-efficient lighting solutions in parking facilities. We also appreciate the opportunity to work with our colleagues to be able to share information that's received, and especially through DOE, the technical assistance that will be required to do so successfully. From IFMA's perspective, facility management professionals have long been concerned with and engaged in the environmental aspects of the facility that they operate, especially from the perspective of an energy conservation and high-performance buildings. And so for us, advocating efficient and responsible use of the planet's finite resources in workplace applications, and that sustainability initiatives are also good for business, is key. So our goal in participating in this program is to provide facility professionals and relevant stakeholders, along with our colleagues, with access to educational, informational, and the networking resources that are geared towards managing these assets sustainably. We're delighted to participate in this program and excited to work with our colleagues in this endeavor.
Great. Thanks, Marina. So before I turn it over to Michael here, I just wanted to answer a couple of questions on logistics. Yes, both the slides and the webinar recording will be available on the Department of Energy website and on the LEEP campaign's website, which if you haven't visited yet, it's www.leepcampaign.org. Okay, next we have Michael on the line, and we're going to switch over to just talking some more details about the campaign, what it means, and how you get involved. So Michael, go ahead.
Thank you, Andres. The ultimate goal we discussed earlier is to save energy in parking spaces. Parking structures or garages, which are used interchangeably, as well as parking lots, are empty a fair amount of the time, and they use a fair amount of energy at certain sites. And the whole point is to save energy. The target is 30% compared to ASHRAE Standard 90.1 2010, and which actually translates to can be more than 50% compared to earlier codes, earlier versions of Standard 90 or IEC or Title 24. The exact values differ by what type of parking space you are in, whether it's a parking lot or a parking structure, but that's just a pretty good guideline of what the values look like. Additionally, encourages the use of controls. It's moving beyond, the LEEP campaign is trying to move beyond just looking at installed watts and really go after energy. And so it actually looks at energy use, kilowatt hours per square foot, rather than just watts. Many energy codes focus on watts, and they're really leaving a lot of controls and additional savings on the table by not focusing on that. A number of lighting technologies that are new and more efficient than existing and conventional technologies last longer than traditional conventional technologies. And the longer the technology lasts, the fewer times they have to be maintained. And every time someone has to go out, especially in a parking lot, and shut down part of the parking lot and get a bucket truck and replace the lighting, saves money for the site. And so we're finding a positive cost effectiveness through deferred maintenance savings. We're also encouraging not just energy savings, but also good lighting practices, good color quality, good lighting uniformity, certain minimum amounts of light to encourage user satisfaction. Once again, here's the URL for the LEEP campaign at the bottom of the screen. And then moving into the next slide, this is some of the more specifics. So the campaign goal, increase the number of parking lots and parking structures that deliver effective lighting. As we said before, our goal is 100 million square feet of parking structure or parking lot. That is a large number, but in terms of the United States potential for parking lots and parking structures, it is not as large as that. It actually quickly adds up if you think about your site or the sites you might visit in a common day. Many parking structures, if they're 3 or 4 floors, quickly can get up to 1 million square feet by themselves. Some parking lots are 200 to 300,000 square feet. So if you think about all the different buildings you visit in a day or in a week, there's a lot of parking out there. We will also want to document best practices and resulting energy savings. Recognize successes. That's the key thing, is that too often that we hear that people can do it, but they're not really talking about how they're doing it or what their values are. They just heard someone replace their lighting. And we found that by recognizing the successes, most energy saved or what the values they're getting, people can start overcoming their own internal hurdles, whether it's a cost effectiveness or just a change in paradigm to a new technology. And that leads into what I was saying previously. We also want to help companies make the business case. We do recognize that a change in lighting does cost money because it is replacing existing equipment or a change in design when a structure or a lot is being developed, and it might require additional cost-effective measures to be assessed because of a higher initial cost but a lower lifetime cost or different economics. So the LEEP campaign, which I'll walk through in a second, some of the additional resources that can help make the business case. As Andres pointed out, the 100 million square feet of energy, we roughly estimate that to be about 51 million kilowatt hours, or the annual use of 4,500 homes or 7,000 passenger cars of greenhouse gas emissions. All good goals. Moving into the next slide, these are some of the resources and the process of the way the campaign works. So this is a pretty standard matrix. On the left-hand side, we have 3 parts: the description, the resources, and important dates. And I'll make sure I touch on each of the important dates in a second. In the vertical columns, we have evaluate, commit, report, and share and be recognized. So important dates. Obviously, today is one of them. the LEEP campaign officially launches. And Department of Energy is offering a limited amount of technical assistance through November 2013. So that's about 14 months from now. The deadline to report energy savings claims is January 2015, so we're looking at about 16 months from now. And then the report, the savings and announcements will be made in February of 2014. Existing sites that have been built or retrofitted are eligible, but the cutoff date is it has to have occurred after January 1st of 2010. That's partly to do with the energy code. Just can't keep looking too far back. So there are resources throughout each of the different phases. The LEEP website offers many of them. There are there are case studies of other parking structures or parking lots. There are also calculators or tools to calculate different elements for you, as well as technical advice, including, and then there's also in the commit phase, there's the CPA specification, which are the Department of Energy Commercial Building Energy Alliance specifications for high efficient lighting, parking lot and parking structure, that is. There's also a list of financing and incentives. And then they move throughout, similar for the report and the share. So pretty much what would you do? Well, you'd evaluate. You'd look at your space, your spaces, how many parking lots or how many parking structures you have. Think about what type of lighting you have and whether or not you're considering making a change. Then you'd commit to building one or retrofitting at least one of those with high efficient lighting that meets the target goals, which are walked through more specifically on the website. And then ultimately you'd report those, the actual energy savings, and share feedback. And then ultimately, which I'll walk through in a couple slides from now, the awards, there are different ones that will be recognized, most number of sites, biggest savings, etc. Next slide, please. All right, continuing on for the LEEP campaign, the free resources. So one are the CPA Lighting Specification. These were, again, the CPA's Commercial Building Energy Alliance. These are similar end users that developed performance-based specifications for both parking lot and parking structure lighting. The idea is that you can use these specifications, incorporate them into your own design documents, or request for proposal. And many people have done this. Two specific examples are Cleveland Clinic. They have used it in RFPs, as well as Walmart. They have incorporated it into their design documentation, and it's a requirement in the design process. There is a rather thorough tool on the website for incentives and financing. You can sort by your site, your state, or your type of site, whether it's parking lot and parking structure, and see all the different incentives available. And it's not just money for fixture or money for controls. There's a lot of incentives out there now for financing, which is great. Deferred loans and deferred interest rates, all very nice things. In addition, there's a lighting project evaluator calculator. This actually helps you calculate your energy use. It takes into account operating hours, watts, and number of fixtures, and actually does some of the real-time calculations. It also actually will allow you to compare different lighting systems and see which one would save you possibly more energy over time. There's over 20 case studies demonstrating different sites from across the country of who are saving energy in parking lots and parking structures. And there are some really impressive case studies out there. I am quite surprised at some of the numbers that people are getting down to. At least 2 parking structures are about 0.06 watts per square foot, which is a significant reduction compared to traditional practice for parking structure, which is about 0.3 watts per square foot, or new standard codes coming out. In addition, you can ask for technical assistance on the LEEP campaign. Again, it is limited in total amount that is available, and it is on a first-come, first-served basis. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned beforehand there are some awards. These are recognition for achievement. They will be announced in February of 2014, and they range from different things. We're trying to allow for a lot of different participation, so it's not just one value. So we have obviously highest absolute savings at a single site for a retrofit, but also for new construction. Same with highest percentage. Some people might have a small site but really be able to save a lot of energy, and so that's how they get the highest percentage. Again, that's both for retrofit and new construction. Best use of controls. Is the site using daylighting, occupancy sensors, and some other additional type of controls? Are they pairing 2 or 3 new novel technologies together to really push the envelope? We want to highlight that so other people can learn how to use controls more effectively to save energy. Obviously, largest number of sites upgraded. So if you have a building portfolio of 100 different fast food chains and you upgrade them all, you would obviously be a contender for that type of category. But we also want to recognize largest portfolio-wide energy savings. So if you have a number of sites that are large and you retrofit 4 of them, but they're huge numbers of savings, you'd be eligible for that one. And then also, again, largest percentage. We want to, again, try to make this competitive so that people are looking at many different ways of being recognized through the campaign. Energy savings results will be announced periodically through 2013 to encourage people to keep going. Retailer or commercial entity X just retrofitted something and saved so many kilowatt hours, or 20% or 40% of their existing program, or the type of announcements we'll be making. Next slide, please. So please also consider joining us as a supporting organization if that is the type of entity you are that you are today listening to this presentation. There's a number of organizations already supporting this. Some of them are utilities, some of them are energy efficiency organizations, some of them are more from a technology point of view. These organizations spread the LEEP campaign's message to their members, and they help ideally recruit participants in the campaign. This time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Nate, who will be walking us through some of the impressive things that Kymco is doing at their facilities.
Okay, hello everybody. On behalf of Kymco, I'd like to thank the campaign organizers and all of those who are involved in putting this webinar together. We at Kymco are excited about the LEEP campaign and hope to share more results as we make progress in this program, and also learning from others about their endeavors. I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to share, and I hope that each of you can take something valuable away from our time together. Next slide, please. So my presentation is really about lighting controls, not lighting replacements or retrofits. We at Kymco are working in this area as well, but we've really chosen to hone in on controls first. We believe really it's a combination of these things, both high efficiency lighting fixtures and sources, along with controls that are going to get us where we want to be in the future. I want to go over the agenda briefly, what we're going to be spending our time on today. I'm going to share a little bit of background on Kymco. I want to kind of lay out the context in terms of what the array of options are out there for outdoor lighting controls and what our experience has been with them. I want to give you some details of the design of our system in terms of how it works, what are the features, and how we go about deploying it. And I'd like to share some results that we've seen so far in terms of performance at our initial 10 sites so far, and then quickly go over what our next steps are for rolling out the program. Next slide, please. So who is Kymco? We are headquartered in New York with regional offices across the country, and I am actually here in Charlotte, North Carolina, as part of the corporate property management team, and we're a team that actually is co-located with our Southeast regional office. Kymco owns and operates a very large and diverse portfolio of shopping centers across the continent. Our tenants include those large big box retailers that you're familiar with, as well as many, as well as down to the mom and pop type restaurants and boutiques. We've been in the business for a very long time. We're a publicly traded real estate investment trust on New York Stock Exchange. We have had a lot of opportunity to learn both what to do and what not to do, and certainly we continue to learn more as we go. We see our sustainability efforts as a significant opportunity to rethink how we both excel in our business, but also consider the larger impacts of our decisions. as a brief bullet point, adding to this, just to give a little more context, I don't have the hard number, but I did a quick estimate. I think we have probably over 500 million square feet of parking lot space across our portfolio. So we have the ability to make a significant impact, which is part of what makes my role so exciting here. Next slide, please. So getting at the purpose of this program that we have affectionately called Gateway Building Controls, of which one aspect of that is our Gateway Lighting Controls. And why the focus on outdoor lighting controls? Well, first of all, it's our biggest utility spend, and also, therefore, our biggest opportunity for savings. Additionally, it's very economically attractive at almost all of our sites, with approximately a 25% average savings and a 2 to 4 year simple payback, really depending on the site, how much night lighting we can implement, and what our electricity costs would be. Fortunately, these numbers, 25% and the 2 to 4 year payback, are not dependent on incentive dollars, like some lighting retrofit projects may be, and so we see those as really icing on the cake for us, but not a primary consideration in taking on the project. Beyond the economics, it provides real-time information to our property managers, which enables them to be more effective, meaning less trips to the site to resolve issues and less wasted time. It also improves the tenant experience by having the lights on when they're supposed to be on and off when they're supposed to be off. As you can imagine, lights off at night when they're supposed to be on is a significant security issue for us, as well as when they're on during the day. It really looks like we don't have a good handle on the management of our sites, and we're wasting our tenants' money, and so that's important for us. And then finally, lighting controls, like I mentioned, are only one of several aspects of our Gateway Building Controls program, but it's the one we wanted to start with. It's being built on Tritium Niagara's AX platform, which is extremely powerful and flexible. And what this means is that we are seeing this as a stepping stone and planning for other future applications, including potentially irrigation, submetering, video surveillance, and even HVAC, piggybacking off of the same platform. Next slide, please. So there are a lot of ways of doing lighting, of controlling outdoor lighting, and each has its pros and cons. I want to just do a quick review of the common components out there and share what our experiences have been, because we have every one of these at our site. This will provide a backdrop for understanding how we arrived at our current design and approach to this program. You'll see the 3 components on the bottom left: the mechanical time clock, below that the photo cell, and above that an electronic time clock. These are probably your most common components used for outdoor lighting control. They're all very low cost. They're all easy to install. The cons would be that they are all prone to user errors, both in terms of the initial setup as well as the ongoing operation. They're all prone to getting out of calibration over time, and none of them offer a remote connection for real-time monitoring or control of the lighting system. Over on the left-hand side, there's a couple categorical classes that I'd like to just mention. Lighting controls can be installed for either circuit-level control or fixture-level control. Most are wired for circuit-level control, meaning that anytime you turn something on and off, you are controlling a group of anywhere from 2 to 10 fixtures or light poles. More than that if you're talking about building lights such as canopy lights or wall packs. But in terms of parking lot poles, potentially probably around 4 to 6 poles per circuit. So circuit level is much more common, and the benefit there is you have much fewer components to install, but you have much less granularity of control. For fixture level, you have very good granularity of control in terms of being able to turn each individual pole on or off. The problem is now you have to install and maintain an individual controller, a piece of hardware for each one of those fixtures. That leads to much higher upfront costs and operating costs. The next category would be as these web-based controllers are becoming more and more popular to replace the old go-to components on the left, you have proprietary devices and what we would call open protocol devices. Proprietary devices come from a single vertically integrated provider. They're essentially a black box, and you don't really know what's going on inside. This gives you low flexibility over the long haul and a higher risk because you're putting all your eggs in one basket of a service provider and a hardware provider. Open protocol devices are really combinations of components that speak standard communication protocols. This gives you much more flexibility as well as lower risk because there's a network, a national network of controls contractors that can service your system. One of those communication protocols is BACnet. That's why I listed their logo, and there's others as well. Next slide, please. To just quickly explain the basic nuts and bolts of how an outdoor lighting system works and how our control system interfaces with it, I wanted to go over this diagram. It's simplified, but includes all of the primary components you would find at almost any parking lot. Electricity flows through the lighting system, coming in at the electric meter, flowing through the breaker panel to the contactors. The contactor is essentially the light switch that then sends electricity out to the groups of fixtures. The gateway control panel is essentially a combination of components including a computer, a small computer, an uninterruptible power supply, and a series of relays that tie into the system in two key locations. It measures the power flowing into the system from the meter via current transducers, and yet it also controls the contactor, which takes the place of the photocell or time clock by sending a small electrical signal to the contactor telling it to close and open, or in many cases, series of contactors. This is where your overrides and your scheduling take place. And then finally, the control panel sends and receives updates to Kymco servers through a cellular internet connection. Next slide, please. I wanted to just go over the features of the system that we've incorporated. On the top left, alarms. These are received via text or email by our property managers automatically from the system. It keeps them informed of what's going on at their site, including power outages, maintenance requirements, and energy performance. On the top right, the advanced scheduling. This is really the power of the system that is able to drive the energy savings. It gives the system very accurate dusk to dawn operation rather than relying on a sensor that may get out of calibration. And these times are updated daily. We're also able to offset the on-off times based on the dusk and dawn calculations. We're able to provide them an intuitive way of setting up night lighting schedules for certain circuits to stage off at night, and you'll see a significant portion of the savings is driven by that feature. They can also enter custom schedules. And then finally, there's a tool that basically gives them the estimated energy savings in real time as they make their scheduling adjustments. That immediate feedback we found to be very important in motivating them to optimize the site's performance. The dashboard on the lower right, this is really, again, for the property manager to get the most out of the system. We want it to be standardized across all of our sites, and we want it to be attractive, intuitive, and accessible from anywhere. Each of our property managers carries an iPad with them, and they can log on and access their dashboards from anywhere that they have a cellular connection. And then finally, we've adopted several guiding principles for this program to keep it flexible and expandable. Open and standard communication protocols allow the system to easily integrate with other systems. And then a modular design allows us to build on the system and improve it over time and integrate it to other systems. And then, like I mentioned, because of these principles of the open protocols and modular design, we can rely on a large network of providers and not be stuck with our eggs in one basket. Next slide, please. So this is a screen print of our dashboard. This is really the catalyst that enables the property manager to truly glean the value out of the system. And this is available to them via PC or their iPad. Just to quickly highlight a few things, you'll have a header across. We have a header across the top of the screen to give the site name and the weather, current weather at the site, as well as on the far right-hand corner, the current time at the site, as well as the astronomical sunset and sunrise time. Then we have a alarm summary. Those 3 indicators across the top of the screen quickly give them important information about whether or not all systems are good to go, or whether or not there's something that they need to dig into. And these would be in addition to the text and email notification that I mentioned already. Below that, you see this site diagram. Many web-based lighting control systems don't provide an actual to-scale site graphic like this, and we believe that this was important for them to see as they make scheduling adjustments, as they override their lights, to see what's going on at the site. And you'll see each of the fixtures is labeled according to the group that that fixture belongs to. And that's important because when it comes to overriding their lights for maintenance purposes or whatnot, as well as scheduling their lights, over on the left-hand side under lighting controls, they make those decisions on a per-group basis. So if they choose to override the lights, they would use the light switch icon, and you'll see in this case that Group A has been overridden, which is indicated by the light bulb being lit up, the light switch being in the on position, and the actual graphic showing that the lights have been lit for all fixtures labeled A. And this would be the same for the other groups as well. If they want to change schedules, they would click on the calendar icon for that group, and there would be a drop-down menu that would give them a series of predefined schedules, be it dusk to dawn operation or a schedule with a night lighting mode where it would turn off from, say, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning, or the ability to implement custom schedules. Down at the bottom, you'll have, stepping back for a sec, above the lighting control, you'll see the energy forecast section. This is what I mentioned where this percentage reduction and cost savings will update dynamically with their scheduling decisions. So that gives them the feedback they need to see how their decisions are impacting the performance of the site. And then at the bottom, you'll have a series of footer links that provide additional functionality. Next slide, please. I wanted to just share a few things in terms of how these projects get implemented. Beyond the technology and hardware, we really focused on refining the entire project lifecycle and how all the pieces fit together. As you can imagine, with the number of sites we have and the pieces that need to come together, both in terms of hardware and software and training, there's a lot of complexity there. We can break them down to 3 phases: design, installation, and operation. And I want to just highlight a couple of sub-bullets under each one of those. With design, we've really found that the site assessments, the quality of the site assessment greatly improves the rest of the project. And so we spend a half a day to a day, the electrical subcontractor, not only doing the survey that will provide the mapping of each fixture to its associated circuit, but also maintenance items and other things that we may find and want to be aware of. Then this information is reviewed with the property manager during an interview, and that information is taken, and those the circuits are regrouped accordingly during the installation phase so that we can maximize the opportunity for night lighting. by trying to select those circuits that give us the ability to stage back on areas of the site where we are able to, and leave lights on in other areas of the site that need to be left on, while trying to maintain some type of uniformity across the site. And then during the installation, we also found that the testing commissioning process is very important to eliminate any sort of malfunctions and operational issues. And then finally, we found in the operation stage that training is very important, and it can be a little overwhelming to property managers at first, and we found that a good training process is key to the success of the program. Next slide, please. Now for the good stuff. What type of savings and performance are we seeing from our project? There are two aspects of energy savings. One comes from tuning the dusk and dawn on-off times. We found that even 15 minutes on either end, turning them on a little later or turning them off a little sooner in the morning, can lead to pretty significant savings. 15 minutes on either side can lead to 4% annual savings. So that's the first component. The second is night lighting. And this can save anywhere from 15 to 30% based on the needs of the site, the security issues, ambient lighting conditions, whatnot. I tell the property managers to shoot for half the lights for half the night, and that would essentially give us 25% savings if we were able to achieve that. The graph here, this is based on actual measurements, but I do have a quick, I'm sorry, that's for the next slide. This is actual measurements from a system in the Bay Area of California. The darker plot in the background is the demand profile of the lighting system basically before it's been optimized, running from exactly sunset to sunrise without any night lighting. The lighter shade overlaid on top of that is the demand profile after the site's been optimized, where you'll see there's a sliver of savings in the evening and in the morning due to the offsets. And there's also a period of night where the light stages back, reduces demand for 4 to 6 hours during the night. And the area under these curves would essentially represent the associated consumption of each operation. Next slide, please. Here are the preliminary results of 7 of our projects. I have a quick correction to the note below. All but one of these sites is based on actual measurements. The 280 Metro site is based on calculations that are probably within a few percentage points of the actual measured performance. But just wanted to make that correction to the note below. So we're seeing an average of 26% savings, a range of about 20% to 32%. And I don't have dollar signs on this map, but this represents anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 per site per year. And on some of our larger sites, actually, Mesa Riverview, the last site there, it actually represents much more than that. Two things to note: it varies by site, which we expect, but fortunately the deviation is relatively small. And so we really think that this 25% ballpark is a good number for us to expect. We'll have long-term build data results shortly and look forward to the possibility of sharing those at some point in the future. Next slide, please. So where are we going from here? We have the design in place, and we're getting the process pretty well nailed down after having installed 10 sites. We need to continue training our property managers and optimizing those sites. We have 40 more to complete before the end of this year. 7 are going in right now, with 30-some to follow very soon. We have over 100 sites budgeted so far for next year. And we're in the beginning stages of planning that rollout. We're also looking to continue to improve the program by driving down the cost and improving the feature set. We want to continue providing training and support to the property managers, as they are the catalysts for the success of this program for us. and we need to continue to monitor and optimize or continually commission, if you will, these sites to sustain long-term performance. And in addition to the property managers being the day-to-day operators, we do have systems in place where, from a corporate standpoint, we can report on key metrics and make sure that these long-term savings are being realized. Next slide, please. That's it for me, and I look forward to any questions at the end of our time together.
Thanks so much, Nate. Very good presentation. And if anyone has questions for Nate, we're going to save the questions until the end. We're running pretty early on time, so that's good news for the questions. Alexandra, I'm going to unmute you right now. Can you hear me? Can you speak?
Thank you. Hi, Andre. How are you?
Okay. Hi. Good. We can hear you. So I'm going to move on to your portion of the presentation.
Okay, great. So, good afternoon, everyone. There's a little bit of a time delay, I hear, on the audio.
Alexandra, you have a little bit of an echo. Alexandra, you have a little bit of an echo. Can you, on your audio panel, make sure to click on the button that just says telephone or microphone or mute your computer, and that'll allow it to eliminate the echo.
Okay.
I think we're okay now.
Okay, there we go. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Andres, and thank you for the LEEP campaign organizers on behalf of the University of Central Florida. Thank you all for giving us an opportunity. We feel privileged to be able to share our story of energy conservation, and as an energy conservation campaign vet ourselves, we are hugely in support of the LEEP campaign, and I'm just going to echo a little bit of what Nate had said earlier. You know, we hope to learn a lot from you all, as well as to have the opportunity to share our story. So just a little background on the university itself. We're located in Orlando, Florida, established in 1963. We are one of 11 in the state of Florida university system, and we have about 10 regional campuses associated in the Central Florida area. But our main campus is just a little bit over 9 million gross square footage. We have about 158 buildings here on our campus, so we're pretty tight packed in here on our campus. And you know, our student body is actually nearing, with this fall semester, we've neared 60,000 students, making us the second largest in the nation by student population. Just speaking on behalf of my department itself, as a university, we have this overarching goal of climate neutrality by 2050. So as a department, we are tasked day-to-day operationally with that goal in mind. And parking structures, we have 9 here on campus. It was so funny, so interesting to hear when we entered into our competition a parking structure, an actual parking facility, into this national building competition that the EPA had hosted. That was kind of a prevalent question that we received, you know, why a garage? Why would you want to enter in a garage? And, you know, we have 9 here on campus. Square footage of the total of our parking facilities is just over 1/3 of our actual building space. And so it was interesting to us that we got that question. We figured, you know, why not? It was difficult for us to compete fully in this competition, being that energy savings, this is an air-conditioned space. It simply had to come from lighting. And we looked towards doing a lighting retrofit, and that was ultimately what we wanted to do with regard to our projected savings plan. Our department went ahead, and I guess next slide. Do I have access to the next slide? Okay, there we go. Our department went ahead and planned on doing this lighting retrofit. This is an actual picture after the fact of the interior of the garage itself with the new lighting. This is total project dollar savings, this cost savings that we had seen at the end of the project, and the reduced energy usage. I guess it's also important to make it known that our department actually operates by seeking out buildings with high EUI, high energy usage intensity. So that's how we kind of prioritize our projects, and this garage displayed a very high EUI, so it was something that we wanted to go after. Total greenhouse gas emissions prevented was 258, and these were fantastic numbers to be able to show administration with regard to a project that we had baseline data from the previous 12 months, and after the completion of this two-phase lighting retrofit, we're able to exhibit this kinds of savings. It was fantastic. So moving on, we had been suggested by our lighting expert here within our department. He had said we should probably attack this particular retrofit in two phases. The first phase was with regard to that initial slide in that picture. We did a phase for the interior lighting, and here you see pictured is the high-performance T5 fluorescent lights had been replaced with 150, or had replaced our 150-watt HPS fixtures. I provided some specs on this particular model, but I'm not too well-versed on the technical aspects, so I'll try to answer questions as best as possible. But this was the fixture that we did see throughout the interior lighting of our retrofit, and this was a very easy phase for us to actually tackle. It was just the initial phase. What was more difficult actually was our second phase of the project, which, next slide, was our exterior retrofit. And we attacked this with a perimeter retrofit. And here you see pictured is our wall pack fixtures. And that was our 150-watt HPS fixtures were once again replaced with 44-watt LED fixtures. And then in conjunction with an exterior retrofit, we had actually performed a top deck retrofit. And that would be next slide. We had replaced our 400-watt HPS fixtures with 16 Cooper LED watts. And this, you can see pictured here, is magnificent actually at night. I wish I would have had included a photo of this itself. But this garage particularly has just such a bright, true color comparative to other parking garage structures. And this is the top deck lighting you can be seen from adjacent buildings. It looks fantastic. So we've actually seen not only energy savings, but just a cleaner, brighter light, which many of the university administrators were at first a little hesitant to. Just such a different look of a garage, but ultimately really enjoy the result of this project. Next slide. And so here's included a project summary. We have total projects replaced with 424 fixtures itself. We did take a little bit more time for the project itself. It was about 4 weeks, and that was because we were trying to avoid causing any disruption to day-to-day visitors. This is very much so a commuter campus, and we have a high volume traffic throughout the day, so we made sure that this project was performed on weekends and late in the evening and early in the morning. So it did take us a little bit longer to complete, but our payback period that we're projecting is about 2 years. And like I said previously, we not only had seen the actual energy savings as a result from the retrofit itself, but we've seen better visibility to include that I would probably have improved safety for our visitors, which is hugely important for us to have our UCF community be protected and have that improved visibility. It's reading a higher, truer color rendering index on the scale, so we're excited to see those kinds of savings beyond just the monetary savings that we've seen. And so here's the final results. So to determine energy and cost savings, we used historical sub-meter reading from pre and post project energy use and made this whole comparison. Here you'll see our energy reduction as well as our cost savings. And it's been fantastic to have the opportunity to put in our initial garage within this competition and then see this kinds of savings. This project has actually been replicated throughout our 9 parking structures on campus, and it's fantastic to see that in just such a short amount of time we've been able to see this kind of savings. Percentage of electric savings at 63%, we exceeded our competition within our category. We were within an other category simply because we were a parking structure and there weren't many facilities that were we were the only standalone parking structure actually within the competition. And I think our next competitor was somewhere in the 40 percentile of energy use savings. So this was fantastic for us to be able to put in to see this kind of savings, to see this kind of success from a particular project. Next slide. And in conjunction with the competition itself, it was important to let the community know what it was that we were doing. You know, day-to-day operational efforts at our university is to uphold this overall university this goal of sustainability. So we feel we have overwhelmingly the opportunity to make a significant impact on our community. We definitely utilize social media outreach. We went out to local media. We used our student publications, and we promoted what we were doing with regard to this competition and seemed to get a tremendous amount of positive feedback. We actually had the honor of hosting the EPA regional administrator, and she came out to give us an award based on our competition success. And so this, for us, this was our success story, and why we feel like it's so important for us to not only, you know, continue our day-to-day operations with regard to energy savings, but to promote these particular projects with regard to energy savings. Next slide. And so with regard to lessons learned, I know that was important for many of our fellow competitors. They had wanted to know, you know, what did you learn from participating in this particular competition, and would you consider it advantageous to go for something like this again, a parking structure? And we did experience some unforeseen challenges with regard to product selection. We weren't exactly sure. We kind of spent a vast majority of the time perusing the market and determining what it was that we actually wanted to install and what it was that we were needed. But that selection process, be it lengthy, was incredibly necessary for us. We did notice that the high pressurized sodium lights that we had put in initially gave off this radiant, warm, orange light, and it gave a very inviting feel to campus. And I know administrators were a little hesitant to change that overall look, and that's what you see pictured here in this image, is just our campus environment looking a particular way. The university aesthetic is, you know, incredibly important to them. So they didn't want to see that changed, but once they saw, you know, the actual energy savings that we had projected from our initial analysis, they were pretty supportive at that point. So ultimately, they approved the brighter white light for our garages, and now you can see, being that all of the parking structures surround the perimeter of our campus, it's completely changed the look and feel, and we are hearing positive feedback. We enjoy the actual look of the campus now. So coming off of, you know, this successful project and a national win, we're fairly confident that we have this process down, and we've been able to replicate it throughout campus. And we continue to seek out energy saving strategies throughout all our facilities. So thank you all for your time.
Great, thank you, Alexandra. We have two good examples there. So we're gonna wrap up here with questions, and I'm gonna unmute all of the panelists here. Forgive me a little bit if I struggle technically. Okay, let's get to some of the questions here. And just also, in case you're aware, the slides and the recording of the webinar will be available once again at the Department of Energy website and the LEEP website. Okay, so let's start with a question let's go with Michael. I work for a manufacturer of energy-efficient luminaires, fluorescent and LED light sources. How do I get our products to be considered as part of this campaign?
Well, ultimately, we are still working out a mechanism to involve manufacturers. The campaign is ultimately for end users, sites themselves, and they select whatever technology they want. We are just promoting energy efficiency. It is open to all technologies. But we are working on a mechanism to try to help sites maybe evaluate and find products through a more formalized means, but we do not entirely have that finalized yet. Alexandra made a good comment about, it was really necessary for the University of Central Florida to spend the necessary time to evaluate all the different lighting technologies, and they found it very valuable. And probably after they did their first parking structure, it went much quicker the next couple of times. So we recognize that it is helpful for sites who may not be familiar with all the different technologies out there and all the different manufacturers out there of the technologies. But at the same time, we're trying to limit we're not trying to limit. We're trying to just make the mechanism better so that the interactions with site owners and manufacturers is the most productive as possible.
Great, thanks, Michael. Another question: does this program apply to smaller businesses that have 1 or 2 parking lots? I would say that yes. And certainly we've configured the categories of awards so that if you're a small lot, you can still have a chance of winning, depending on your savings and the percent of lots that you submit. Michael, anything to add on that one?
1 to 1,000 or 1 to infinity. Yeah. No. Please. Every site adds up to our total goal. And just because it's a mom and pop or a one-off site, we'd like you to help save energy. And but at the same time, if you have 100 sites or 1,000 sites, we'd still like you to save energy.
Great, thanks. So Nate, this question is for you. As the gentleman from Kymco discusses an impressive level of outdoor lighting control, is there any concern that hardware being installed and multitudes of lighting fixtures will not be supported by future operating system upgrades on iPads and PCs? Having several now useless PC accessories that no longer offer software upgrades, it's always on the back of my mind. Any response to that, Nate?
Sure. It's a good question. When you make decisions about, platforms to build off of, it's certainly a very important consideration about interoperability with both the end device, the PC or the iPad, what have you, and whether or not it will be viewable long term. The platform that we've selected, which is the Tritium company, but the technology is called Niagara AX. It's not the only, but it's probably the predominant one of its class, which creates a kind of an open architecture, if you will, for developers and manufacturers to build off of, much like Apple putting out an API for the iPhone and everybody going out to build an app for it. Somewhat similar. We think we have chosen the best one, and everything's viewable, through a standard internet browser. And so the end device is pretty. We're agnostic to the end device. So it's at the end of the day, there's always some level of risk there, but we've tried to do our due diligence to minimize that risk.
Okay, great, thanks. The next question for Alexandra. Did the UCF parking lot lighting retrofit include controls, or were the controls present? Alexandra?
Yes, that's a good question. Controls were present. We just looked into replacing the actual fixtures themselves. They needed an update anyways, and so we actually, and something important that I need mention is that we also not only, we had to accrue a little bit more of a cost initially with the higher, more efficiency lighting, but we also are now seeing a higher life cycle and warranty on those products, on those actual products themselves. So no, controls were in place already, but we were just actually retrofitting the actual lighting itself.
Michael, this question is for you. Just, I guess, can you please re-outline sort of the technical assistance services that the LEEP campaign will provide, and sort of how the application process works?
Sure. It's a great question. So technical assistance is somewhat, I don't want to say nebulous. We provide the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. We're one of the Department of Energy laboratories, so we're going to provide technical assistance. But because we are taxpayer funded, we are not, and for many other reasons, liability and other issues, we will not do designs. We're not going to come in and say, well, you should space these fixtures 10 feet apart, blah, blah, blah. we're not going to do that. But what we can do and what we ask for is, first we'll start by asking questions. What type of lighting do you have? How much lighting do you have? But we want to get into specifics. What's the square footage? How many fixtures? What type of fixtures they are? And then also, what are your site's lighting requirements? One thing we often find out is, if a site requires 10-foot candles or 8-foot candles, which are real existing lighting requirements, the first thing we're going to say, well, wait a minute, maybe you need to rethink those requirements, because energy savings is really hard when you're really pushing for high light levels. So one thing we're going to do is try to look at existing practices and try to see where energy savings are possible. If a technology that's just old, for instance, mercury vapor, which is an extreme example of very old technologies being used, we'd say, oh, well, that technology is so old, and it pretty much has a very limited life at this point. You're going to have to move away from it one way or the other. Here are some options. But then what we're going to also do is, so we're going to look at what your existing equipment is, and operation schedule and that type of stuff, and then start proposing stuff. Well, are you considering sensors? If so, here's some stuff you should know about daylighting sensors. If you are considering occupancy sensors, here's some things you should know about occupancy sensors. We're going to try to point you to resources like the CPA specifications, or if there's a technology that you're interested in, maybe it's LED, and you're saying, well, we have a question about correlated color temperature. We might point you to a document produced by the Department of Energy's solid-state lighting program, where it really walks through the basics of color and how all the different values work. So we're going to try to push as many different resources that are pre-existing out there, mainly because there's a lot of great ones, and some of them, and I don't want to reinvent stuff, and nor do we want to reinvent stuff. But we're also going to try to say, oh, well, consider this, or look at these 4 options, or these technologies might work compared to what you're trying to do. It also is going to depend on each site. It's really hard to say what any one type of thing is. But so in general, no design work or similar type of aspect of it. But we are going to push existing resources, try to provide technical specific questions, and provide some existing resources and materials where we can.
Alexandra, on the UCF project, what led to the selection of T5 technology instead of LEDs? And again, I want to stress that the campaign is technology neutral, so we'll take savings any way we can get them. Alexandra, T5 over LEDs?
Yes. From my understanding, the T5 was selected beyond other products on the market. It was just what fit best for us. I can't really argue with the fact that LED are probably what's best available on the market right now. And specifically, we were looking for a particular product that we knew once we put into this facility that we would be able to put into all of our facilities, because not every parking garage is created equal. We wanted to make sure that this was something that was a more malleable product. And from particular reasons, I know one of which that we were really excited to see is that this, without having to be replaced, we're looking at an anticipated life of these fluorescent lamps for future repair expense up to 3 to 4 years. So that was also very attractive to us with regard to these particular lights. I think ultimately they just won out. It was what we needed, what we were looking for, and throughout the selection process, this is what actually stood up to us as, the product that we were looking to ultimately put into our garage throughout the campus.
Thanks, Alexandra. This question is, we are in the final installation phase of a lighting retrofit project in one of our parking lots. Can we still enroll in the LEEP campaign? So anyone that is eligible to participate in the campaign, as long as the retrofit happened after January 2010, and then you can participate up until November 30th of 2013. So the answer is yes, you're eligible to participate. I'm scrolling through questions. Does this program apply to transit authority and other public entities? I would say yes. We're trying to we're actively trying to recruit participants of any public or private type of building, or any owner manager, even parking lot owner or management companies. This question is for Nate. We are looking at fixture-level motion sensors on a MH2 T5 surface lot project in series with circuit-level photocells. It seems to us that there's very finite level of control will lead to the lowest possible kWh use. What are your thoughts on this approach versus the more complicated web-based controls?
I think I understand the technology. I've seen the. It sounds we haven't. I personally have not implemented a project like that, so I'll preface it by saying that. But you know, that sounds like a good approach from some projects I'm familiar with. Actually, here around the Charlotte area that I've seen. If you don't need to have a lot of variability in your schedules, if your site's going to sit there and do what it's going to do day in, day out, then find something that works well. And I'd say, you know, you don't really need to have the ability to sign in and make changes on the fly or get those sorts of those alarming features and stuff like that that we are interested in. If you keep in mind that each of our property managers manages, you know, 20 to 30 sites, there's kind of there's more impetus for us to give that level of information. Whereas, you know, if there's a facility manager that has one parking lot they're responsible for, and they can be, you know, on call, so to speak, to respond to issues quickly, then it's probably less important that they have access to all of that granularity, and there's probably less motivation to spend the additional money to get that. So to me, it sounds like a good approach.
There's another question. Have you evaluated light-emitting plasma lights, LEP lights? We've reviewed and have been impressed. Have any of you heard of or have any advice on light-emitting plasma lights?
I've only heard of them. I don't know anything about them.
This is Michael Mark. Yes, light-emitting plasma is a form of HID technology. It's specifically like metal halide, only it is missing the electrodes. The electrodes are a weak point in many types of lamps, and so by getting rid of the electrodes, you are increasing the life of the lamp. That being said, it's a very much different form factor of a light source. So just as it's similar to metal halide, it requires an entirely new type of fixture, both from an optical and thermal point of view. Currently, there's a handful of LEP manufacturers of the actual light source, and then there's also a handful of manufacturers making fixtures for them. So going back to one of the earlier questions about technology changing, that's definitely something to consider. What happens if manufacturer A no longer makes the product? It happens to many technologies, but it's just right now with 3 or 4 manufacturers, something to think about. One of the limitations of the technology is the lumen output range. Many other sources, whether it's metal halide or fluorescent or LED or even induction, have many different output settings. LEP, because it's still new, they don't have as many light output options. They're numerous. They're actually very high lumen output products, but if you want maybe a low lumen output product, you might have a harder time finding that. As I said, that is one of the disadvantages of it. An advantage of it is it can be dimmed pretty easily, which is new for most metal halide technology. Metal halide can dim, but it's not always friendly to it, whereas LEP can dim much further. There's, I believe, a color shift when you start getting to the low end. But it's being used. You're seeing more installations of it. I believe Indiana a town in Indiana has installed them for most of their streetlights. And if you do a little Googling on stray light technologies, you might find a large installation of it.
Thanks, Michael. A couple of logistical questions. Someone's asking about subsidies at the beginning of the webinar. We're not. The campaign isn't providing any financial assistance, but we are providing sort of resources to existing financial assistance. If you check on the LEEP website, you'll be able to find a section called Financial and Technical Assistance, and it'll detail. It has a downloadable spreadsheet that we'll be keeping up to date. That you can sort by type of by market, by location, by type of light, things like that. Another question on the campaign awards, how baseline kWh and results will be verified. Michael, do you wanna take on that one?
Well, we're doing 2 different methodologies. One, we're doing initial calculations we're just asking for data and we're doing the calculations, or you can do the calculations through the initial data. But when we do move to verification for the award process itself, or any savings that seem significant and need to be verified, we're still working out the exact plan. If there's existing metering on site, we'll try to take advantage of that. If not, it might be some spot measurements where we verify fixture X is installed and a rough idea of what the operating frequency is. That is the current plan.
Thanks, Michael. So just a couple more questions, and then I'll throw it up to Karen, Marina, and Paul to just give us some closing thoughts. Nate, do your controls at locations integrate motion sensors in addition to dust and dawn controls? If so, have you experienced any problem when combining the two?
Good question. We currently do not have any occupancy-based. There's a variety of challenges associated with that. Because we are a circuit-level control, if you will, and not a fixture-level control like I went over, we don't have the level of granularity that you'd like to have if you're doing occupancy-based, such as an occupancy sensor on every pole or every other pole. So that's one challenge that we would face. The other is basically how to get the signal from the occupancy sensor back to our central control panel. Would likely require wireless communications or wire to be ran, which would again be cost prohibitive. I see our program eventually moving towards wireless fixture level control at some point in the future. We've piloted it, and it wasn't as successful and robust as we were looking for. It doesn't mean there aren't technologies out there that may be, even now, but our experience with what we used didn't meet our needs at this point. And so I would see the implementation of an occupancy-based input would be at that time, where we do have fixture-level control. And so I see us potentially moving towards that in the future to get even better savings, but for now we don't incorporate it. But in terms of technically speaking, it wouldn't be that hard to do. It's more just the cost-to-benefit ratio for us right now.
Great, thanks. So I'm going to leave it the last couple of minutes here in case the campaign organizers want to share a couple of thoughts. Now would be great. Is that can you please just speak up and share a couple of your closing thoughts?
This is Paul from the Green Parking Council. As I read or see more case studies, I'm intrigued by the number of different approaches that organizations are taking to improve the operations of their lighting, and learn so much each time. So I think we should continue to try to figure out ways to share the history of what people have done. I know on the LEEP website we have some links to a bunch of different case studies. But I want to thank the folks for sharing them today and some of the folks who shared them in the past, and we'll continue to promote those among our members because it's just fascinating to see.
Thanks, Paul. Karen or Marina?
Thanks. This is Karen. I also want to thank everybody. I also want to say, while we're really excited to hear about all the successes, I think we also learned from things that didn't work so well. So as we're going through this campaign and recognizing all the great accomplishments, I know from BOMA's perspective, we'd really appreciate hearing from everybody that's participating in the campaign and what works and what doesn't work, so that we could make sure some of that expertise gets shared with the broader industry. But other than that, just wish you all luck, and you have all of our contact information, and please don't hesitate to get in touch with any of us if you have any questions or need any additional information.
Thanks, Karen. Marina?
Thank you all for attending and listening to the presentations. Along with my colleagues, we're just thrilled at the level of interest in this program, and definitely look forward to, at the end of this, being able to share some sustainable practices that will help everyone involved as well as those beyond to be able to develop a business case in order to implement projects like this in the future. So again, encourage you to share this information with other colleagues that you might have locally and in the industry as we move forward with this campaign.
Great, thanks everyone. We're going to wrap up, and just a reminder that we're going to post the slides and the recording of the webinar. And also, I think we're going to take a shot at taking and answering some of these questions that we didn't get to. There were a lot of questions. I just sort of went through it and tried to briefly skim the best ones. But if there are some good ones we see on there, we're going to post those as well. So thanks everyone, and have a good rest of the day.